Hey everybody, Snooplax here, and today I'm going to rank 64 Nintendo 64 games that I've played over the years. First game up is, I'll go Super Smash Bros. Obviously easy S tier. Banjo-Kazooie, another great game, another S tier. Next game, I'm going to go Glover. Now Glover is a really fun platformer, definitely underrated, but I'm going to have to put it in the B tier. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 was released on the Nintendo 64 and the GameCube and PS2, so Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3's graphics are really dumbed down in the Nintendo 64 version. And the Nintendo 64 version is definitely one of the worst ways to play the game today. Although it is a fun game, you'd have to put it in D purely because it's pretty much the worst version of the game. Quest 64. So, the Nintendo 64 isn't known for RPGs, and I remember getting this game as a kid thinking, oh cool, nice RPG for the Nintendo 64, and I tried it, and honestly, it really wasn't that good. I'm sure there are some Quest 64 fans out there, but for me, I really didn't like the game. Next game is Body Harvest, and this game was made by the same people that made GTA, and I got this game probably when I was around 12 or 13, and it's pretty good. You can definitely tell that it's by Rockstar. Just trying to think if it's better than Glover or not. I'd put it in B tier. Donald Duck's Gone Quackers. This game is actually kinda similar to Crash Bandicoot. I'll put it in B as well. The original Mario Party. Original Mario Party, very fun game. Overall, original Mario Party, we'll put it in A tier. Next we'll go Mario Kart 64. This is definitely one of the best multiplayer games on the console. So it has to be an S tier. This is Mario Tennis. Mario Tennis, definitely a really fun multiplayer game. The cool story mode. A little bit of lore with the transfer pack if I'm remembering correctly. Gonna have to put Mario Tennis in A. Mickey's Speedway USA. So this game was made by Rare. It is incredibly similar to Diddy Kong Racing. I haven't played that much of it. It just honestly feels like you're playing Diddy Kong Racing with Disney characters, so I have to put it in B. We'll go Banjo-Tooie. Banjo-Tooie, for me, I didn't think it was as good as the original. Still is a very great game. I'm just wondering if I should go A or B on this one. I think it just barely makes A. Next game is Dr. Mario 64. Now this game is probably one of the least graphically impressive games for the 64. It uses barely any 3D elements, and it seems like this game could have easily been on the Super Nintendo. It is fun to play, and if you're looking to play Dr. Mario, it is definitely a good way to play it, but it really just didn't do much, so I'm gonna have to put Dr. Mario in C tier. Next game, Gold Nugget 64. This is a game I tried probably a couple months ago, and it's literally a casino emulator, and it's really not that fun. I really couldn't see anybody really wanting to play this game today, so I'm gonna have to put it in E. The next game is Monopoly, and I'm a pretty big Monopoly fan. I remember being excited to play this game, but this port of Monopoly is honestly way too slow. It's probably almost twice as slow as actually playing the game because the characters take so long to move, and it really is a poor port, so I'm gonna have to put this one in E. Next game is Star Wars Episode 1 Racer. This was a game I got probably when I was around 7 or 8, and I played it a little bit, but I could never really get into it. I'm gonna have to put it in C. Next game, Excitebike 64. This one is actually a really fun game. It has a bunch of stuff to do in it, pretty good multiplayer mode. I think it just barely makes A. Next is going to be Rush 2. And this was one of my favorite Nintendo 64 games to play as a kid. It has a really cool stunt mode. There's a bunch of cool collectibles like keys and Mountain Dew cans, and it's still one of those multiplayer games I still play today with friends, so to put it in A. And next game will be Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. This is the one I had as a kid, and I played this game a bunch. I think this is an easy A, maybe even S, but I'm gonna put it in A for now. Yeah, it'll probably stay in A. The original Pokemon Stadium. Original Pokemon Stadium, good game, pretty fun mini games. I feel like a lot of people had this game, and the minigame mode and just being able to finally play Pokemon on the big screen was really cool. So this one's gonna go in A. Next we're gonna go for a beloved classic, Paper Mario. And Paper Mario, I have to put an S tier. Great game. Highly recommend it. Next game is gonna be Yoshi Story. Yoshi Story is another game that I played a lot as a kid, and I'm kind of torn about where to put this one. It is pretty fun, but it's pretty much a 2D platformer that is, honestly, it's not the best 2D platformer. I'd say it's average, but it is fun because it's Yoshi and does have some good elements, so I'm gonna have to put this one in B. Next game, we're gonna go the original Spider-Man for Nintendo 64. This was a pretty fun one. I remember playing through the campaign of this game multiple times, and I think this one is also a B. Next is Micro Machines 64. This game is... I honestly have only played this game multiplayer with friends, and this is a really fun game to play 4-player multiplayer. Highly recommend it if you're with friends. I don't think it's quite A category, but I think it'd be like high B. Next one, might as well get this out of the way. Superman 64, obviously horrible game. Arguably one of the worst games of all time, so this is easy F tier. Next game is Pac-Man Maze Madness. This one is another one I got when I was really young. I played through the campaign of this one. It actually has a pretty solid multiplayer, but at the same time, I'm gonna have to say low B. It's almost a C, but I'm gonna put it in B. AeroGauge. This is a very, very average racing game. I remember playing it and just really not thinking that highly of it. I think I played like 2 or 3 races with friends, and it pretty much had nothing that stood out, so I think this one I'll put in D. Chameleon Twist. This is an underrated platformer where it has a really cool mechanic where you're a chameleon and you stick out your tongue, and when you lick something you like kind of use it to turn your character around. It's a pretty fun little game. I think I'm gonna have to put it in B. Next we'll go Conker's Bad Fur Day. Such a great game. Easy S tier for sure. It has a super mature theme, which is really cool. Like, it's an adult game for Nintendo 64. Paperboy. This is another one I had as a kid and I played a lot of. It has a pretty fun campaign mode. The gameplay of it is very arcade-like. Like, this would be a game I'd like to revisit in the future. So yeah, I'd say it's a B. 2 easy ones to put in F tier is going to be Elmo's Number Journey and Elmo's Letter Journey. And I actually remember playing these as a kid. These games would obviously be pretty good for little kids, but they just really would be just excruciating for adults to play. Like, DGR has a very good video of him playing through one of these Elmo games. Next, I got the original Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. And for me, I barely played this one, and for me it doesn't even compare to 2, because 2 added manuals and a bunch of other things, but number 1 is still very iconic, so I feel like I have to put it in at least B. Next up is Pokemon Snap, and Pokemon Snap is honestly such a good game. Highly recommend it if you haven't played it yet. But is it tier A good? Yeah, I'd think so. Next game's gonna be Mario Golf. And I've only played Mario Golf at friends' houses, and I've never been the biggest fan of it. I'm gonna have to put this one in B. Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, and this is definitely one of my favorite Nintendo 64 games. S tier for sure, like this is high up there for me. GoldenEye. This one's gonna be very controversial. Like GoldenEye, but playing it nowadays, I think it's not that fun anymore. After you play games like Halo and other first-person shooters, it's so hard going back to the Nintendo 64 controller to play. I really like the modding scene in GoldenEye. I play the mods a fair bit, honestly fairly often, so I'm gonna have to put this one in B. Our next game is Buck Bumble, and I'm really torn about where to put this one because if you've never played Buck Bumble before, it has one of the best opening theme songs of any game. And the gameplay, honestly, Buck Bumble did get really good reviews at the time, and to have a title screen that good, like, it has to be S. The Buck Bumble theme is too good to not be in any other tier. Mischief Makers. Mischief Makers is a very fun 2D platformer, but there's very few levels where the goal of it is to get from point A to point B. Every single level has like kind of a unique mechanic about how the level works. It pretty much just doesn't follow the rules of video games. Like for instance, almost every single other kind of 2D platformer on here, it's literally go from point A to point B, but this one, every single level is unique. I never have fully completed this game, but I definitely do respect what it does, so I'm going to have to put this one in A. And the next game is going to be BomberMan 64, and BomberMan is definitely a fun series. Definitely recommend playing it, so yeah, I'm going to have to, I'll put BomberMan in B. B for BomberMan. Next is going to be Pokemon Stadium 2, and this is honestly one of my favorite Nintendo 64 games also. I play the mini games and just the free battles a lot with friends now. Like, probably my most played Nintendo 64 game, other than mods, would be this one right here. So I'm gonna have to put this one way up there in S tier. Next is Perfect Dark, and for me, I feel like Perfect Dark and GoldenEye are so similar that I'm gonna put it in B. I know lots of people argue that Perfect Dark is better, and I understand that, but I'm gonna have to put it in with GoldenEye at B. Mystical Ninja. I've played a little bit. It actually has a very cool 2-player campaign. It's kind of like Mario 64 combined with The Legend of Zelda. It has some very cool elements. I honestly didn't enjoy it that much, but I hear such great reviews about this game. And I'm gonna have to put this one in C, because all these games in B, like, at least I have genuinely enjoyed them. Mystical Ninja I've never really had that great of a time with it, but I do appreciate and respect everything that it's done. I know there's lots of people that say this is their favorite Nintendo 64 game of all time, and I'd understand where they're coming from. Jeopardy. Jeopardy, I've played this a little bit, and it's your average game of Jeopardy. The thing is, though, when you answer the question, you have to type it out. And typing things out with a Nintendo 64 controller takes forever. I don't think it's quite as bad as Monopoly, but I have to put it in D. 1080 Snowboarding. I never really did play this one that much. It is pretty fun, and I think it definitely is a classic. Even like the speedrunning community for this game is pretty rank, so I'm gonna put this one in B. Next is gonna be Kirby's Crystal Shards. I liked playing this game as a kid, but when I revisited this game, it is one of the slowest games you'll ever play. Like, there's literally people that makes hacks of this game to make it 2 times faster, just so it can be playable nowadays. The only way to make a game playable is to make it go up 2 times speed. I don't really think it's that good anymore. Like, as a kid I probably would have loved this, but as an adult having a different attention span, this game really hasn't held up much. The minigame mode is actually pretty fun though. I'm gonna have to put it in for B just because of the minigame mode, because the minigame mode is actually pretty fun. And next, we're gonna go Ocarina of Time. It's probably gonna be one of my most controversial ones, but I'm gonna put this one in A. I really like Ocarina of Time, but it really just doesn't compare to Majora's Mask in my books. Buck Bumble better than Ocarina of Time? I think the music can justify it. That's the only thing. Putting Buck Bumble above Ocarina of Time is the one thing that I'm really not sure about. Chameleon Twist 2. I played the sequel to Chameleon Twist, and honestly, it just didn't quite seem as good. I don't know, it just didn't have exactly what the original had, so I'm gonna have to put this one in C tier. Next game is Worms Armageddon. I've played this a couple times with friends. It's a pretty good Worms game. So you have a bunch of items, and there's a bunch of stuff you can do, but if you're gonna play Worms, I don't think this is the way to do it. Like, I think probably plenty of browser games you'd have a lot more fun with than this game. I just remember it taking forever to set up, and you almost have too many items, and it just takes a long time to play. I'm gonna have to put this one Very close to B, but I'm gonna have to put this one in C. And the next game is Bust a Move 2. This is honestly one of my go-to games to play with friends because it has a very cool just 2-player mode arcade game. It's fun just playing this game in the background when you're talking to people. Like, Bust a Move is honestly just a very fun puzzle game. The 2-player mode in this game, it's so easy to play and so easy to set up, and I'm really debating putting it in A. You know what, I'm going to put this one in A, because if I had a Nintendo 64 and could only pick like 20 games, I think I'd pick this one. Like, honestly. I still play it a lot to this day. Destruction Derby 64. This is another really fun 4-player game to play with friends. You know, this game has a really fun game where like you have a bomb, and you have to touch someone else to give them the bomb, and so I'm going to have to put it in B. Next game is Rush 2049. And just like Rush 2, I've played this one a lot. It's pretty fun. It has a good stunt mode. It has really good 4-player. If I had this one as a kid, I'd probably say it's A, but I just started playing it recently, but it's definitely a fun game to play with friends, so this one's going to go in B. Next game is going to be Mario Party 3, and I'm going to be honest, Mario Party 3 is pretty much my favorite Mario Party of all time, so I'm going to have to put this one in S tier. And saying that, we'll go to Mario Party 2. And Mario Party 2, I honestly don't like it as much as 3. Still is a fantastic game, but I'm going to have to put this one in A tier. Next is going to be South Park. South Park, I've honestly only played the multiplayer mode. I haven't played the campaign, but with the multiplayer mode, it's actually pretty fun. But I don't think it's B tier fun. I think it's a solid C. Pokemon Puzzle League. This is a game that I hear people talking about a lot. I've played it a couple times, but just the way the puzzle element is, it's not really a puzzle game that I like that much, just the mechanics of it. I'd much rather play even like Dr. Mario or Bust a Move or Tetris. I don't think I'd ever be like, oh, let's play Pokemon Puzzle League. I understand why people like it, but just the puzzle mechanics just aren't for me. Next game is the new Tetris. The new Tetris is a lot like Bust a Move for me. It is a very fun game, but I honestly don't bust this one out that often, so I'm going to have to put it in the B tier. Next game is going to be Starfox. Starfox, I'm going to be honest, I never owned Starfox as a kid. It just out of chance. It was one of those games that I never got. I remember playing the multiplayer mode at friends' houses, and I feel like if I would have played through the campaign mode, it probably would have been in A, but from my memories of it, I'm going to have to put it in B, and I know that's probably going to make some people upset, but I'll have to play through the campaign and reevaluate it one of these days. Donkey Kong 64. And for me, I gotta put this one as an S. This is one of my favorite 64 games. I understand how a lot of people dislike the game and the bad game mechanics of the game, but this is definitely one of my favorites for sure. F-Zero X, and honestly F-Zero X is kind of like Star Fox for me. I know it's a very good game, I just haven't played it that much. So I'm going to put this one in B also. The next game is Snowboard Kids Too. And it is very similar to the first Snowboard Kids. Just an overall fun racing game, so I'm going to have to put this one also in B. Wait, I didn't even do Snowboard Kids 1. So yeah, Snowboard Kid 1 and 2, both very similar games, almost identical when you play multiplayer, so these are both going to go in B. The next game we got is Diddy Kong Racing, and Diddy Kong Racing is honestly such an amazing game. Has such a good single player mode, such a good multiplayer mode, so this one is going to go in S tier. And for the last game, I bet you, probably a lot of you knew what this game is going to be. And this is Super Mario 64, and this is obviously a simple S tier. And yeah, that is my complete tier list. Anything that I'd change right now before I cement this? I think my F tier is good. Superman and the Elmo games. E tier, I know me putting Quest in E is probably going to upset some people, but I just really disliked that game when I tried it. D tier, I like the D tier. C tier, I think that's a solid C tier. I think that's fair. B tier, is there any of these that I can move down to C? Honestly, all these games I actually really like, though. I think it's a very solid B tier. I know there's a bunch of games in there, but I think I can defend that B tier. And A tier, I think that's a very solid A tier too. And yeah, S tier. That is perfect S tier. Buck Bumble could easily go down to A, but that music is just too good. Right, well, thank you guys so much for checking out this video. I've never done a tier list video before, so let me know what you thought of it. Yeah, thank you guys for checking it out. If you could leave a like or maybe even subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. And I hope you guys all have a fantastic day.